It's the battle for the 49th Congressional District, a showdown between the incumbent Democrat Mike Levin.
We now have 3.5 years of delivering results.
And his repeat opponent, Republican Brian Maryott.
I believe it's failing us at every level.
Two candidates with very different positions on public safety, abortion, the economy, and with the power in Congress to change your family's future. Now they face off in a special edition of NBC 7, helping you decide who you want to represent you in the 49th Congressional District.
Good evening, and thanks for joining us on NBC 7. I'm Mark Mullen.
I'm Priya Sridhar.
I'm Catherine Garcia. Thanks for being with us. So tonight, we're hearing from the two candidates running for California's 49th Congressional District, Democrat Congressman Mike Levin and his Republican challenger, Brian Maryott. California's 49th District covers part of Orange County and parts of San Diego, and it is one of the battleground races that could decide if the U.S. House flips to Republican control or stays Democratic.
We'll be moderating tonight's debate. Here are tonight's debate rules. Each candidate will get about 30 seconds to answer a question on issues that matter to you, the voter. Then we will ask the other candidate another question on the same topic. We're asking for a lively but respectful exchange, and at the end, both candidates will be allowed short closing statements. So let's get right to it.
Let's get to it. We begin with the first topic, which is near and dear to everybody's heart right now, and struggles the economy. Congressman Levin, first question for you. Inflation is high, as you know. Many families don't know how they're going to pay their bills right now. In Congress, what would you do to help citizens get by while still supporting actions like the Fed raising interest rates, like it or not, that economists say are needed to curb inflation?
Well, thanks so much for having me. Thanks to NBC 7. Thank you, Brian, for being here as well. Look, prices are too high, but Congress is acting. The Inflation Reduction Act is the most significant way to reduce costs that we've seen in some time. For example, reducing out-of-pocket costs for Medicare to $2,000 per year, making sure that Medicare can finally negotiate the price of prescription drugs, and the biggest investment in climate in history. But we've got to go a lot further, and we're cracking down on oil price gouging as well. I'm leading legislation that will finally investigate at the federal level these gas prices that we're seeing, the California oil refineries. Here's the difference. My opponent has no plan whatsoever. He offers complaints, but he doesn't offer any substance. And you'll hear that on inflation. You'll hear that throughout this evening.
Mr. Maryott, same subject, different question right now. What specifically would you do in Congress if elected to combat the rising prices of, we could go down the list, gas, food, and housing? And we're looking tonight for solutions beyond just tax cuts.
Well, there's two things that have to happen to get a handle on inflation and do so before it's too late. We have got to stop the printing and borrowing and spending of money. The progressive movement that Mike is at the forefront of and President Biden have gone on a spending spree, borrowing, printing, and really going college kid wild in terms of how they're spending in the country. And they did so at the end of a crisis. So we've got to stop that in its tracks. Also, we have to get energy inflation under control. It is killing families. It is killing business owners. It's killing industry. And it's raining down on the American people and here in California in a very, very harsh way. Those are things that government can influence in a very, very substantial way. And we have to get about the business of it. We need a change of leadership in Washington. We need it desperately. I just heard Mike Levin say we have to go a lot further. Please don't. Please don't go any further with this nonsense that you have imposed on the people of these communities who are now spending twice what they were spending a year and a half ago for groceries, twice what they were spending a year ago for gas, and twice what they're spending for a mortgage bill if they're trying to buy a new home in this community.
I heard no substance whatsoever, and if I might, the out-of-control spending actually occurred under the previous administration. Donald Trump campaigned saying he would eliminate the national debt in 4 years. Instead, he racked up $7.7 trillion in debt instead of cracking down on the debt and the deficit. Under this administration, we've reduced the deficit by $1.4 trillion. The Inflation Reduction Act is actually set to reduce the deficit by $1.9 trillion over the next 20 years by finally allowing Medicare to negotiate the price of prescription drugs. And notice he said nothing about the big oil companies making obscene profits because he invests in them himself. He has hundreds of thousands of dollars in oil company investments. Oil companies are actually funding those attack ads you see on NBC 7 from him.
Candidates, thank you both.
We want to move on to another big issue of the day, public safety. Gun violence is gripping America. Yesterday, we had another mass shooting in North Carolina. We're going to start with you, Mr. Maryott, this time. Would you support universal background checks for anyone looking to purchase a gun, or banning people younger than 21 from purchasing semi-automatic weapons?
So gun violence, particularly with young people, continues to be a problem in our country. Here in California, we have very, very strict universal background check. We still have terrible gun violence that occurs in California. We are being overwhelmed by fentanyl. We have one young person dying every 7 minutes in this country. My opponent failed to put fentanyl on the top tier of drugs.
Not
just
true.
Like China did? Yes, completely true, Mike. An extension is not the same
So we
thing
actually
as
are,
putting it
I
on the
know
first
Catherine,
tier.
my colleague, is going to be talking to you guys about fentanyl as well, but
Terrific.
specifically on guns, I'm assuming you wouldn't support then a universal background check.
I didn't say that. We have it in California. It works well. I'll go through the process. I have some concerns about a soldier who may return of a PTSD episode. Anytime you're dealing with the federal government, you have to be concerned. I have concerns about a woman who may be stalked, who may have a problem, might feel under threat, and the delay it might take to get a handgun to protect herself or whatever kind of weapon. So we'll go through the process, but we have universal background checks here in California. It's not the whole answer.
Brian?
And what about banning semi-automatic weapons for people under the age of 21?
We banned them here in California, and
So
it's
you
the
would
same
support
thing.
that?
It's the same thing. We still have it. We still have episodes in California. Gun control is not the only answer to violence in this country, regardless of the choice of weapons. We've got to get to why people are doing this, and there's a lot of mental health issues in the picture.
Congressman Levin, I also want to give you a chance to weigh in, but we've also seen so many campaign ads about crime nationally. There's also been a lot of concerns raised about the need to reform policing and the criminal justice system. How do you address this while balancing the two?
Well, first of all, Priya, he's on record saying he wants no federal gun violence prevention measures at all, none at all, and he's the candidate of the radical gun lobby. In fact, he even funded a radical gun organization here in San Diego County. The other thing you should know is Brian said he wants to freeze then cut all non-defense discretionary spending. And what that means is he would freeze then cut essential programs, including the federal funds that go to our local law enforcement, to our police. I'm proud to have the endorsement of the California Fraternal Order of Police. I'm proud to have fought for the Invest to Protect Act, which would actually invest in our smaller police departments. I got money for dash cams in Oceanside for the Oceanside Police. I work with my Republican colleague, Young Kim, to get a $3.5 million grant for the Orange County Sheriff. When it comes to gun violence prevention, I'm proud to have received an F from the NRA. It's the only F I've ever gotten in my life, because I'll actually stand up to them. And I want to see not only universal background checks, but I want to see this terrible crisis of gun violence actually addressed. My wife and I have 2 young kids at home, 10 and 8 years old. And what happened in Uvalde could happen anywhere. Just look at what happened in North Carolina just as I was before this debate watching. This is a tragedy, and you can blame mental health, Brian, but we are the only industrialized nation in the world that has this level of gun violence, and until we stand up to the corporate gun lobby, we're not going to do anything about it. I'll stand up to them, and you won't.
All right, gentlemen, you sort of brought the segue up for us when you brought up fentanyl. We do want to talk about that because this is another crisis Americans are certainly facing. And we'll start with you, Congressman, because this #1 killer of young people right now is fentanyl. And a bill that would extend the Schedule I classification for fentanyl was blocked earlier this year by Democrats. The DEA has said that that classification does help give the government more power that it needs to crack down on this deadly drug. So I'm hoping that you can explain your position on what is called the HALT Act, and then also just why Democrats were not supportive of that move.
Well, first of all, I have voted multiple times, despite what my opponent says, to schedule fentanyl with Schedule I. I firmly believe that we need to do that. I also think that it's important when you have any issue of this magnitude. The fentanyl crisis is horrifying, and again, as the parent of 2 young children, I am personally horrified by this. But in order to actually do something about it, you need to get a first-hand look at what the problem actually is. And for all Brian's talk, running for Congress now for the last 5 years, he admitted to the San Diego Union Tribune that he had never been to the border. Not once, not ever. I go frequently and I talk to people who are responsible for drug interdiction. I talk to the people at CBP and I listen to them. And what they tell me is that they need more personnel, more technology, and more funding. And I have voted repeatedly to increase funding for border security. We can have security and we can have humanity at the border, and we must.
Mr. Maryott, I want to continue talking about this subject because when it comes to substance abuse, the current administration supports federal funding for harm reduction services. These are services that can include syringe programs, Narcan distribution, and safe injection sites. And I'm wondering, if you're elected to Congress, would you vote to fund these harm reduction services to address the fentanyl crisis?
Well, it's going to take a widespread effort to stop our broad-based addiction issue, but fentanyl is not an addiction issue. Fentanyl is a supply issue. It's a poisoning issue. This is what people have to understand, that they are poisoning our kids. You don't have to stand at a press conference at Otay Mesa and San Ysidro and look around from your press conference to understand. You need to look into the eyes of parents who are grieving because their 14 and their 16-year-olds died because they took a pill that's laced with drugs because you won't send people to prison. 70 months in San Diego. We are now the epicenter of trafficking, fentanyl trafficking. That is per federal officials. These guys put more money into giving felonies $1.4 billion for high-speed internet than they've put into interdiction at our border. That's how much they care about it. Mike Levin is he's anti-prison. He will not vote for harsher sentences. He will not draw a line. That is why the San Diego Police, San Diego Deputy Sheriffs, Oceanside, PORAC, Crime Victims Association all stand with Brian Maryott in this race. They know this former mayor will know how to protect the residents of our communities, keep us safe, stand with law enforcement, stand with safe communities, and not stand with the criminals. And the progressive movement that's their deal. Stand with the criminals.
I was a resident of the city when he was the mayor, and homelessness tripled in the city when he was the mayor.
Would you like to answer anything else about the drug crisis and what you're doing to approach it?
Absolutely. Well, I'm a parent too. Again, my kids are 10 and 8 years old, and I'm horrified at the thought 13, 14, 15-year-olds are using fentanyl. So what you need to do, I'm not just going down there for press conferences, Brian. I'm going down there to speak with the people who are heading drug interdiction at CBP. Maybe if you'd have done something these past several years except running against me and you just slowed down and talked to your colleagues, Republicans and Democrats alike, you'd realize that we're actually working together. We can still work together and do big things, and we are when it comes to the border. All of us together in the San Diego delegation. I think we have more in common than you think. And when you get to Congress, you actually have to work across the aisle, which is why I'm very proud of the fact that I've gotten 20 bipartisan bills signed into law, both by the former president and by the current president. We can still bring people together, and on an issue like this, we can't just play politics with it as you seem to want to. This isn't about a political win. This is about stopping these drugs from coming across. And the methods that they're using today, kids as young as 12 years old being asked to carry fentanyl in their backpacks to and from.
70 months. That's what they get for it, 70 months.
It is horrifying. It is horrifying. And you're not the only parent up here, Brian, and I'm going to do everything I can to fight for our children as well.
Well, that would be nice if you started doing that, Mike, including putting the criminals behind bars, because they're poisoning our kids. And today's Democrat Party does not care. They have shown from presidential leadership on down they care more about the comfort of prisoners who are felons in our prisons than they care for our children. That is a fact. Okay. That is a fact. We are now losing a kid every 7 minutes. This is a crisis in our country, and today's Democrat Party wants to skip right over it.
Okay, gentlemen, we've spoken about the border. Let's get into this a little bit more because there's so much to cover. We share a frontier with Mexico. Most everybody agrees that there needs to be immigration reform, yet despite which party is in power, sweeping changes never happen. Mr. Maryott, this question for you. Do you think there needs to be reform? And if so, what specific changes would you pursue without just closing the border for thousands of workers and other people who might have to cross daily?
Well, border security and immigration reform are two different issues. They're linked because Americans have to have peace of mind that we have a border that is safe, secure, and manageable when we have operational control. Clearly, we do not have operational control of our border. You'd have to have your head buried in the sand to think we have operational control. You don't have to be down there to see it. There's 3,000 miles of border. There's 330 ports, and Mike's been to 2 of them and probably 4 press conferences. So, you don't have to see it. You can see from the stats and hear from law enforcement and see on the news every night what's going on. So the border is one issue and immigration reform is another.
But
the two are linked.
Are you essentially saying that border security has to be addressed before you even take on immigration
Well, I think
reform?
In fairness to people who did the work to be here with legal status, that is going to help their acceptance of meaningful change that allows a pathway for millions of people.
Gotcha. Congressman Levin, so as you know, if you watch the news, we've seen undocumented residents being bused or flown from border regions to far-off cities, and many have called that a lot of political theater. But honestly, it reflects the frustration of a lot of border states, including California, that are dealing with a number of undocumented people crossing the border. If undocumented residents are not deported, then what do you think should happen to them?
Well, two things. First, it's very personal to me because my grandparents on my mom's side were Mexican immigrants. They came to the United States at a young age. My mom likes to say they were the dreamers of their day, and I know that we can do the DREAM Act. I know that we can do the Farm Workforce Modernization Act to revise our guest worker program, and I know that businesses in our district, run by Republicans and Democrats alike, actually want to see that happen. The second thing is that we've got to consider this issue in the context of cross-border trade. The U.S.-Mexico border represents $250 billion a year in economic output to our region. And his hero, Donald Trump, he is very much a Trump Republican, wanted to shut the border down. So we had to stand up as the San Diego region, Democrats and Republicans together, saying, do not do that. Do not play games with our border. Instead, we've got to invest in our border and make it faster for people who are trying to cross legally, which is why I'm so excited. We were able to work together, Republicans and Democrats alike, on the Otay Mesa 2 border crossing. That's a $150 million federal investment. And ultimately, at the end of the day, we need comprehensive immigration reform. But what we need are fewer people like Brian who are trying to play politics with immigration. And we need more people who are actually trying to work across the aisle, roll up their sleeves, forget about the politics, and do what needs done, which is to treat people with common sense, decency, and humanity. And we can do it if we get out of the way and just allow a bipartisan group to come together and make it happen. And we can do it.
So one of the biggest topics in this year's election is abortion rights. The Supreme Court overturned a landmark decision of Roe v. Wade, as you know, earlier this year. Mr. Maryott, I'm hoping you can clarify something here with us this evening, once and for all. Supporters of your opponent point to a voter guide published by iVoterGuide.com to insist that you favor banning all abortions from the moment of conception and that you will vote to undermine abortion rights in all 50 states. Can you explain whether this is an accurate portrayal of your beliefs, please?
No, of course it's not, and there's never been any need for clarification. 2 years ago, it was made very clear and published in numerous publications, and Mike knows this, and those who are attacking me know this. Abortion now, the laws sit with the states. I have never favored criminalization of first trimester abortion or any issue with rape, incest, or the life of a mother. Never. It is despicable the way they are talking about this issue and my background on this issue. I have acknowledged the miracle of life, and I have acknowledged the absurd, extreme position of my opponent, calling for long partial birth abortion, late-term abortion, government-funded, late-term taxpayer-funded late-term abortion.
Not true.
That has been the case right down the line. That has been the rhetoric. They have the nerve to put an attack ad on television. Mike's buddies in the House who fund this bold-packed nonsense, along with about 50 other socialist groups
Hispanic Caucus,
that actually have a woman saying, I would ban a procedure that my wife had in the 13 months when we lost 13th week, when we lost a heartbeat. It's despicable. By the way, she's not from Vista, Mike. You could tell your buddies that. It is gross. It's disgusting. I would never take a woman's rights away in the first trimester when she's feeling hopeless and in need and needs some options in her life. That has always been consistent for me. It is in major publications from 2+ years ago. Mike knows this. They all know this. But all they want to talk about is abortion, Trump, because they can't talk about the current because they've made a mess of it, and they have zero plans for the future, except if I got this right, we want to go further. That's the plan for the future. They want to go further.
Congressman?
There is one thing out of that entire answer that he said that is true, one thing, and that is that he has been consistent on his position when it comes to abortion. When he ran in 2018, when he ran in 2020, when he ran in 2022, he consistently filled out questionnaires with the most extreme positions saying no exceptions for life, health, rape, or incest. It is the most extreme position you can have. And now, after the Dobbs decision, they say they want a national abortion ban. Lindsey Graham has said the quiet part out loud, and if they are given the opportunity, they will ban abortion nationwide, and he will do nothing but empower them every step of the way. On the other hand, I am strongly pro-choice. I will never stand between a woman and her doctor, and I don't think Ted Cruz or Lindsey Graham or certainly not Brian Maryott should stand in the way of that either. And when the Dobbs decision came out, this is probably the most telling thing of all. He celebrated, Brian celebrated, and he tweeted, just like his hero Donald Trump. He tweeted about it, and he said what a historic day it was for the Supreme Court. I never thought I would see the day when my 8-year-old daughter had fewer rights than her mom, and how dare he think that he can get in between a woman and the right to choose, and her doctor. Now, let me just say this also. I don't support what he says. I support codifying Roe versus Wade with the Women's Health Protection Act. I support the viability standard as it exists in California. The one with the extreme position is him. No matter what he wants to do now that he's in a general election, he's had that position for the last 5 years. He's trying to change it in the last 5 days.
Gentlemen, let's talk about the military now. Congressman, this one is for you. Camp Pendleton obviously is in the 49th District. The moment you step off the base, though, troops and their families are in one of the most expensive areas in the entire country. Repeatedly, when we do stories on food banks, we a lot of times see military families in line waiting for free food, which is staggering considering the sacrifice that these families already make. What can you do in Congress to ease the financial burden of these members of the military who have difficulty just making ends meet while serving this country?
Well, it's not just what I can do, it's what I have been doing. So we expanded the summer EBT program to provide more food assistance to military families. We did everything we could to invest in Camp Pendleton, $350 million since I've been there for readiness and preparation. We've cracked down on Lincoln Housing and the private housing developers that have had a horrible track record in the past, and we're doing everything we can to increase the basic allowance for housing. I was excited to see the recent announcement from DOD that the San Diego region would be included in the BAH increase. And you've got to know this. I have no greater honor than serving the military families every single day, whether it's the servicemen and women or the spouses or the children. Also, the investments we got for Mary Fay Pendleton Elementary and some of the other schools there on a bipartisan basis. I will never stop fighting for our troops. And it's, again, having the readiness and the preparation of all our sailors, our soldiers, our Marines, everybody there, and all around this great San Diego community. That's what makes this place special. And I will never stop fighting for them or for our veterans. 19 bipartisan veterans bills just in the last 3.5 years.
Okay, Mr. Maryott, if you are elected, obviously this will include a lot of your duties, including the votes that you make, which will determine the fate of the military. Same category, different question. Do you think militarily the U.S. should be involved in the defense of Ukraine?
Well, let me first say that there's two things that our veterans need the most. They need a strong economy that will welcome them in and provide them opportunity and challenge and the ability to be on a mission to continue to feed their families. And they need strong health care. They need choices. Their families need options. And I think it's a tragedy that Mike Levin is behind his own health care bill to destroy TRICARE. It's remarkable to me,
Brian is the one who wanted
just
to
remarkable to me
the VA
what he will do to their health care.
He said he wanted to privatize the VA altogether.
Okay, gentlemen, thank you.
So you asked a question about Ukraine, if we still have time?
20 seconds, please.
Okay, so simply it's a very difficult situation. Obviously, we have been providing weaponry and guidance, and Ukraine is struggling along, and they're doing quite well. And at some point, you have to draw the line in this world, you know, and the boundaries were drawn, and Mr. Putin has executed on a very evil game plan. And so we have to stay involved at this time.
Thank you.
Well, unfortunately, we've reached the end of the debate already. Can you believe it? But before we go, we want to give each of you guys an opportunity to make a closing statement for about a minute each. Mr. Maryott, you get to go first.
Yeah, so the real issue here is not the occasional fighting and misinterpretations. We both have our beefs. But at the end of the day, Mike Levin's a bad fit for the district. He's an activist. He supports vote. He has voted for people to vote at 16, D.C. statehood. So the population about the size of Carlsbad should have their own 2 U.S. senators. Nationwide gas engine ban, which he filed as a freshman representative. Reimagined policing. We know why the police stand with Brian Maryott in this race. Government-run health care, which will do away with all private health care insurance, repeal every element of Obamacare, all the exchanges, all the private health care, destroy TRICARE as we know it, He's called for a minimum universal income, which is a purely socialist policy where people without children.
Not true.
We're not talking. It is true, Mike.
Not true.
It's 2 years ago in the BayPAC, and I will send this. And I will send the studio the tape, and I will send it to you. They asked you if you supported, and you said yes. 2 years ago.
All right,
the
Mr.
BayPAC
Maryott, I'm sorry,
debate.
we're running out of time. We're going to have the congressman.
I will
have
finish
his last
quickly then.
moment
I will finish.
Sorry, we're out of time.
Did he not interrupt me?
Congressman, please go ahead.
Catherine, did he not interrupt me?
I'm sorry, we're out of time for your statement. We only have a little bit of time
Well,
left. So
I wouldn't
go
have
ahead.
interrupted but for him saying things that patently are false. You have a choice in this election. Everybody watching at home. The stakes cannot be any higher. I have worked incredibly hard these last 3.5 years across party lines to get big things done for our community. 20 bipartisan bills for our veterans, for our environment, the Inflation Reduction Act, the CHIPS and Science Act, the Honoring Our PACT Act. They help with housing. They help with housing, homelessness, the GI Bill, transition assistance,
it's the most absurd
workforce development. If you go to MikeLevin.org, Brian, maybe you could read the legislation as opposed to just spending the last several years running against me and standing on street corners. Let me just say this.
And talking to our constituents, Mike.
At the end of the day.
Versus standing on the beach in a press conference.
At the end of the day, Brian Maryott believes that January 6th was the fault of the Democrats. Brian Maryott is a Trump Republican. This district deserves better. You deserve somebody who's going to stand up and fight for democracy. That's what I'll do every single day. I'd be honored to have your support. The stakes are huge, and we need you to vote this election.
Gentlemen, thank you both. We'll give you a chance to catch your breath along with our audience, and there's a lot to consider. Thank you so much for making time for us, especially in this final sprint. Does it for us tonight. Thanks so much for joining us, and we hope tonight's debate helps you cast your ballot on Tuesday, November the 8th.